Make sure you download the Woodward Sports app in the App Store and the Google Play Store today. Take Woodward Sports with you wherever you go and listen live on your phone or mobile device.
Good morning, everybody. You're tuning into the Morning Woodward Show on the Woodward Sports Network, featured on the Roar 93.5 FM, 99.1 FM, and 94.7 HD2. Happy Hump Day, everybody. We're halfway through the week. Get pumped. Boys, good morning. Jeff, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, Adam?
Good morning. All right, so the Lions cut linebacker Jamie Collins after attempting to trade him. They announced it yesterday that he has been released. Adam, I saw your tweet, and I want to hear your take on it. You said, and I quote, "Publicly announcing you're benching a veteran linebacker, then announcing you're looking to trade him is poor management. Of course they cut him. Any trade value was diminished." Jeff, what do you think about Adam's tweet?
I disagree with it. And my main point is other teams have been doing this. You saw it with the Indianapolis Colts with Marlon Mack. They just announced his availability for a trade, and he hasn't played at all this season, barely. So I don't agree with it. I get why the Lions were pretty open about it. Agents are calling teams and calling to see, the availability of players. And Jamie Collins' play on the field has been horrific. So the fact that he's on the block, I don't think surprises anyone that is watching Lions games or anybody else that is watching film on the Lions, because his play's been poor. He's an aging veteran. I don't think any team would have gave up, a fifth, a sixth for him. His play just hasn't been, what a pick would be worth. So teams understand. Listen, the Lions need to cut him. They got to make some room on the roster. So I think teams just kind of expected it. Yeah, you could acknowledge, telling everybody that we're planning to trade him would just kind of give the signal, listen, I'm not going to trade for him. You're going to have to cut him regardless. But at the same time, that's been just a statement in the NFL. Like, teams do that.
It's really not that common. The Marlon Mack situation is actually an example of how not to handle something, especially considering he's actually a capable back. He's proven in Indianapolis he can actually be serviceable. I don't have a problem that they cut Jamie Collins. I don't have a problem that they benched him. I've been asking for Derek Barnes to be on the field for 5 weeks now. That is not my problem. My problem is poor management in that one situation. You don't come out and publicly say these things. Nobody does it. And when they do, this is what happens. You get nothing for it. If they want to come out publicly and say, we're going to trade Jamie Collins and we're going to bench him, that's fine. As long as your expectation isn't you're actually going to trade him because you ruined his, whatever value he had, marginal or nothing, it didn't matter. The moment you came out publicly and said what you said about Jamie Collins, his trade value became zero. That's the problem. It's not that you wanted to trade him or that you wanted to cut him. Great. I don't mind that at all. But you don't make those announcements with the expectation that you're actually going to make a trade. Because everybody around the league, you showed your hand to. And they're not going to offer you a sixth, let alone even a seventh round pick for it. Adam, what are we going to do with a sixth or seventh round pick? It doesn't matter. It's not the point. You did this. Well, let me not say you did this. You saw this 2 years ago, a week before the NFL draft. The Lions showed their hand. They couldn't wait to sign Chase Daniel. No. God forbid. They had to sign Chase Daniel, which meant they weren't going for a quarterback at number 3 overall. They showed their hand. Miami wasn't going to move up. Los Angeles weren't going to move up. And you were stuck at number 3 taking Jeff Okudah because another prime example of incompetent decision-making. Now, was releasing Jamie Collins the end of the world? No, it's not the point. The point is, you don't come out publicly and make these comments expecting to trade him. Which they did. They expected to trade him. That is delusional. If they came out publicly and said, hey, we're going to bench Jamie Collins, we're going to reevaluate him over the next week, 10 days, and then we're going to make a decision from there, Cool. They came out and basically told me they plan on cutting him. They're trying to figure out how. All right, cool. But you don't come out and say you want to trade a guy by announcing publicly you're going to bench him and that you're questioning him. He has no trade value. You can't come out publicly say that and expect. It's the expectation that you were actually going to get a trade done for him. That is my problem with it. Not so much that he actually got cut.
So you don't think his play on the field would hurt the value? Because like his first 2 games were god awful. And even if we benched him and a team were looking to trade for him, the amount of money he was making, what is he making, $10 million a year for that play we saw in the first 2 games of the NFL season? I don't know. I get what you're saying though. The fact that you'd say openly, hey, we're going to keep him.
He deserved to get benched. That was not the problem. That is not the problem at all. And if anything, in Detroit, you wanted to see Derek Barnes more than you wanted to see Jamie Collins and Jelani Tavai when he was here. And I've been preaching for this for damn near 5 weeks now since the preseason started. Cutting Jamie Collins isn't the issue. Whether he deserved to get cut, deserved to be traded, I could care less. I'll agree with you. But from a management standpoint, you don't come out with the expectation of getting a deal done and announcing that you want to get a deal done for a player that you plan on sitting. How does that make any sense to anybody? How? We can agree Jamie Collins' play was awful. He deserved to get benched. Maybe his trade value wasn't much anyways to begin with. Regardless, you don't come out with the expectation of, hey, we're looking for suitors for Jamie Collins. We're in talks right now, as if you actually are, because clearly you weren't in talks, actually. Nobody was going to be interested because you gave your hand away. And yes, even if somebody were to make you an offer, you were likely to get a 6th or a 7th. Yes, I totally understand. That's not a high coveted pick. Okay. It's still draft capital. Go look at all the undrafted rookies playing in the NFL over the last 10 years. Go look at the 6th, 7th round picks that have come out of the NFL. They don't need to be Hall of Famers. They just need to be serviceable players. If Jamie Collins isn't a serviceable player and you got to pick for him, you have an opportunity to get a serviceable player. That is the point. It's poor management from the standpoint that they actually came out and said what they said with the expectation that they were actually going to trade him. It's poor management. It has nothing to do with Jamie Collins. Go ahead, Jeff.
I see what you're saying in terms of just the fact that they said, listen, we'll trade Jamie Collins, or at least we're going to bench him. Showing your hand, I agree with. I just don't agree with, I don't know if the odds of him getting traded were that high regardless. His play was that bad. What is he, 31 years old, coming near the end of his contract. The only team, we sat up here and talked about where we see Jamie Collins going possibly, I said the Patriots. I don't know a single other team that would throw a pick at us for Jamie Collins. I really don't.
But that's not my problem with it.
But I'm saying, like, I don't think... listen, I understand what you're saying. I just don't think that reasoning would be the sole reason he didn't get traded.
Let's take let's say what you're saying right now is definitive fact, right? And that's exactly how the organization was thinking and the other teams around the league. Why are you coming out saying you're planning on trading him? If you can't, if you know he has no value, if you know you've already been calling teams and they're not interested, what are you doing? That is my problem.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with Jamie Collins. He should be on the bench or cut. Goodbye. I want to see more Derek Barnes. This is a throwaway year. Get the young guys out there and get them in their correct positions for them to succeed. Please keep Penei Sewell at left tackle.
Yeah.
A.J. Parker, looking good. Derek Barnes, looking good. Anzalone, not bad. Not bad. He bounced back after a horrible first 2 weeks. He got eaten up against Green Bay. Improved, though, against Baltimore. That's good. That's all you're looking for. But my problem isn't with Jamie Collins or his value. I could care less. I care with how it was handled. That you're naive enough to even think for a second that a player we can all agree was playing awful.
Right.
You thought for a second that you could come out publicly and say we're now accepting suitors for Jamie Collins.
And then he becomes a hot commodity.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You're not putting DeAndre Swift or Jamal Williams on the market here. You're putting a veteran linebacker who costs you a ton of money, who you've now added to your dead cap space, which is fine. It's just for this year. You'll move on. But still, why? Why come out and say these things if you know the situation? Like I said, if what you're saying is correct, why come out and say that? If you know he's not good enough, if you know there's no suitors, you actually still come out and say, we're accepting possible. Do you really think you're going to fool the other GMs around the NFL? Are you kidding me? I don't understand it, Jeff.
No, yeah, it's a great point. I get what you're saying. People have to really understand it. It's not. We all mutually agree Jamie Collins' play on the football field has been horrendous. I think the main point is how the Lions went about it, and I could see why it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, Chris Ballard, yeah, he announced the Marlon Mack trade, but the difference between those two players is Marlon Mack has value right now. So even if you announce he's available, he won't be playing. I think there will be still suitors for Marlon Mack. The difference with Jamie Collins is his play was so bad. The fact that we announced he's available doesn't matter. I think that's, if anything, teams were like, well, you're releasing him. We understand that. So I get the point. I think that might be a rookie GM head coach move. Hopefully that does not happen again. But then again, it just doesn't happen often. I mean, it only happens to players that are worth value. You could still get things for.
If you couldn't get anything for Jamie Collins, which, again, I agree you probably couldn't have, given how awful his film looked week 1 and 2. All right? Let's say I give you that. Why are you coming out and handling it in this way? You're trying to be different? What do you mean you're trying to be different? You go behind it. You don't have to announce every decision you are making behind the scenes in front of a camera. Save us the pity, please. I don't want to hear what the Lions we're checking off all the boxes in this cert. I don't want to hear it. Just do it and do it right. I don't need you to comfort me. Don't tell me that you're trying to trade away Jamie Collins, genius. No shit. No, like, my goodness. You've been trying to get Derek Barnes on the field for how long now?
Right.
This is not the point. It has nothing to do with Derek Barnes coming in the game or Jamie Collins getting benched or cut. I just don't understand the way they went about it. I question it. I really do. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, if you want to make any realistic trades in the NFL, you can't be doing this. Especially, I mean, a player like Jamie Collins, whose value is diminished. You can't.
Mr. 715, I understand completely. I agree with you guys in the chat. I don't think you're listening to me. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I agree. Jamie Collins was god-awful. I don't think they could have gotten much. But I didn't hold a press conference saying that we are looking for suitors for Jamie Collins. Did I? No, I didn't. Your head coach did. So please save me the frustration. Even if we can agree that they wouldn't have gotten anything for Jamie Collins, that's fine. Why come out and act like there were actually any suitors and you just put yourself in a spot that you don't need to? It's an unnecessary headline. You just cut him. Instead of having a press conference, it's like, we're making a move. We're going to reevaluate our linebacking core. We're going to play the young guys this week. The young guys play well against Baltimore. You cut Jamie Collins. And everybody supports your decision. And they support it now, but regardless. Nobody is like, well, why were they just trying to trade him? Like, you get the point here? It's just poor communication. That's all it is. And again, this doesn't mean their regime isn't going to be successful. This doesn't mean you fired Dan Campbell. You have to be able to sit up here if you're honest with yourself and question these things. And if you can't, well, then I feel sorry for you. I really do. Because if you can't question things in life, there's no such thing as life. If everything is how you envision it in your head, well, I'm sorry. That's not how life is. It really isn't. Kennedy?
Wow, the Wednesday wisdom with Adam today. Craziness. All right. Well, like I just said, it is Wednesday, which means my favorite segment of the week is coming up, and that is Would You Rather Wednesday, you guys, so stick around for that. But first, we need to hear about our friends over at Northwestern Tech.
Listen, are you or your friend or your brother, your cousin, whoever it is, if you guys are looking for, to go to a trade school, you go to Northwestern Tech. They take care of their students. You can start a brand new career in an industry that is always essential. The heating and cooling industry. You learn more today by visiting northwesterntech.edu.
Hi, I'm David Hall from Hall Financial. And at Hall Financial, we treat our clients like family. And our number one priority is giving each of our clients 5-star service. Our passion for 5-star service, combined with our expertise, allows us to find the best possible solution for refinancing your home loan. We take the time to focus on both the individual and the numbers. We're going to walk you through the process and close your loan in half the time of our competition. Go to davidhallmortgage.com today.
Welcome back, everybody. You're tuning into the Morning Wood on the Woodward Sports Network. Happy to have you here. It's Hump Day. We got this, which means we obviously have to do Would You Rather Wednesday. Are you guys ready? I love this segment because it allows me to be a little creative, you know? And it allows me to irritate Adam, which is even better.
Usually you give me the questions before I don't have them on here, so I'm kind of interested to see what it's going to be about.
Okay. Would you rather beat the Bears twice or the Packers, who are most likely to win the division, once this season? So you can either take the next 2 games we have against the Bears or our next game against the Packers. Which one?
Okay, can you repeat it?
Okay. Would you rather beat the Bears twice or the Packers once?
Would I
This
rather beat the
season.
Bears? Oh, I'd rather beat the Bears twice. Yeah.
Yeah.
F the Bears.
Because at least if you lose to the Packers, you're like, well, they're
They're
NFC North.
actually a quality team.
They're
like,
winning.
Detroit is only a +3 underdog, which means it's basically even money game.
Yeah.
It's a toss-up. It's 50-50 right now between the Bears and the Lions. Both are playing. Well, I wouldn't say both. The Lions have progressed from week 1 to week 3. The Bears just look dysfunctional.
They're a mess, yeah.
But regardless, like, I would rather beat the Bears twice. That at least you can hold your hat on that. The Packers are a good football team. There's no shame in losing to better football teams. There's a shame in losing to the Bears, though. So
Agreed.
I
I'd
get
rather beat the
that.
Bears twice.
I get that.
And 2 wins, better than 1. So we'll take it.
All right. Okay. Would you rather the Lions win the NFC North but lose the playoff game, or lose the division but win on the road in the wild card game?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question, actually.
Thanks.
You know what? I will say I would rather win the division. And I'll tell you why. Because if you're winning your division, that means you have a good football team that was able to compete over a 17-game schedule, which tells me that the roster isn't going anywhere. Anybody can make the wild card. 9-8 now, 10-7. You can make the wild card. We've seen 7-win teams make the wild card. It's not the point. I get you want a playoff win, but I would rather have the division title. That shows me that, hey, we were the best in our division this year. Yes, we dropped a home game, but you know what? Like that, we're going to use that as fuel as next year. We're going to try to defend the division, and when we get to the playoffs next year, we're going to try and win. Like you can look for improvement and like something in the future. Not winning the division, but winning a playoff game. Well, what happens after that? Do you lose? Like I don't know.
You know what? Yeah, that's a tough question. Honestly, I want to say not win the division, but win the playoff game, because at least then you would be like, we can build on something. We just won our first playoff game in how many years? Now, hopefully next year we'll just win the division. So you know what? I believe Detroit would go crazy if we won a wild card game, even moving on to further in the playoffs. So just to switch it up, I'll go win a playoff game, win a wild card game.
Yeah, my initial reaction was playoff game or the wild card game, but then I was like, do you get a banner if you win the division? Because we could use one. Do you get a banner for that? You do, right? So I was like, I kind of want a fresh banner hanging.
The division proves you're a good football team and that your roster isn't going anywhere. Again, you can make the wild card.
It would be interesting,
and not
though.
make the playoffs the next year.
Imagine this show if we win the division and lose the very first playoff game. God, that would be
eventually, like down the road.
Yes, imagine that
this year.
scenario.
No, the moment the Detroit Lions win their division, nobody should sit up here and say anything but
Yeah,
they're heading in the right direction.
of course.
They won their first division game. Now, let's see if they can win in the wild card. At home, their first home playoff game in God knows how long. Like, you can now look to the future and build off of that. Making the wild card, I've seen Jim Caldwell do it. I've seen Jim Schwartz do it. It's whatever. It doesn't mean as much.
And Lions
Believe
have-
me, Lions fans would have rather won the division the year they started 6-2 than sneak into the wild card, I promise you.
All right, moving on. This is our last Lions-based question. Would you rather lose golf in Week 4, which would derail an empty season, or in Week 15, derailing a hypothetical push for the playoffs?
Wow. Well, honestly, if we make the playoffs, we're not going far. So you know
That's
what? Give
the
me
hypothetical.
as much as I love Jared Goff, and I don't want to say for anybody to get injured. It would be interesting if we lost Jared Goff. Then we'd have a for sure top 4 pick. I'll take that. So you know what? We're building for the future. I'll go Jared Goff getting injured. Even though I love the man, I don't want to see him get injured. But it's better for my football team.
Did Wyatt just say no playoff wins, but winning the division is a Schottenheimer thing? You do understand Schottenheimer's won multiple playoff games and has been to multiple AFC championship games. So do yourself a favor. Before you talk crap about another head coach who's by far more successful than any head coach you've ever had, actually do the research and see what his career played out to be. Oh, going against Bill Belichick his entire career. Shame on him. Shame on him. Going 15-1, 14-2. Well, I believe it was 14-2. Losing in the wild card. That's a bad thing, yeah. But really? Kennedy, can you please ask your question again, please?
Of course. Okay, so either way in this, you're losing Goff. But the question is when. So would you rather lose Goff in Week 4, which derails the empty season, or in Week 15, which would derail my hypothetical push towards the playoffs?
I'd rather lose him in Week 4. With this roster, they're not going to go far.
And then
There's
you
no
lose Jared
chance.
Goff? Oh, my.
When you lose Jared Goff,
You're screwed.
it's not going to be good.
Give me that top 3 pick.
There you go. All right. Would you rather, all right, we're off Lions, by the way. Would you rather start Cade McNamara or J.J. McCarthy against Wisconsin?
Ooh, I don't want to take the answer on this one. J.J. McCarthy's got to get the start. The problem is, though, you didn't play him in the first 4 games when you really had an opportunity to. Could have played him in the second half against Rutgers. But Jim Harbaugh's made his decision. I may not agree with it, but I would rather start J.J. McCarthy. Cade McNamara, he can't win me games. He can lose me games, but he can't win me games. Similar to Jared Goff. That's Sean McVay's problem with him. J.J. McCarthy, ideally, can win me games and lose me. That's fine. He's a freshman. But I'd rather know I have a chance with the guy I have on the field to actually be dynamic and give me an opportunity to win. Jeff.
Yeah, it would definitely be J.J. McCarthy, only because the Wisconsin, this team's coming off a horrendous loss with Graham Mertz throwing, 4 interceptions. I believe J.J. McCarthy could win that quarterback battle, and Wisconsin isn't looking that good. And what a statement win it'd be if J.J. McCarthy comes in, wins over Wisconsin. It would push the case for him to start. So, you know what? I like J.J. McCarthy. It opens up their offense a little bit, and I've always been a fan of the guy. So I like Cade, but J.J.'s more dynamic. I'll go J.J. McCarthy.
All right, I like it. And then obviously we had to do an NBA focused question for our guy, Jeff. Would you rather start a franchise with Giannis or KD?
This is tough. If we're going, should we answer this right now or just of all time? Right now, I'm going Giannis. Obviously, he's younger. He can play both sides of the ball. The only thing you can't do is shoot from long range, but you can surround him with guys that can do that. So right now, I'll go Giannis. But if I had to start him right when they were 19, 20 years old, I might go KD because he is something just different.
Yeah, no, man. I'm taking Giannis.
Yeah, right now or yeah.
No, just in general. Let's say from the very beginning of their career, you get them right out of the draft. Who are you drafting?
KD.
You're taking KD.
Yeah.
I'm not taking KD. He hasn't proven he can win as the leader and star of his team. He had to go to Golden State, where, let's be real, the leader of the team was Steph Curry.
Right.
The MVP of the team was Steph Curry. Kevin Durant was the best player on the team.
Yeah, and
but
the finals,
he was nowhere
too.
near the most valuable or the leader of that team. Giannis is coming off his first finals appearance. He wins it, unlike KD did when he was the alpha of the team in OKC. He wins it, and he's proven to me that he can go toe-to-toe with super teams, Brooklyn. That he can go toe-to-toe against other superstars and dominate.
This is new, though, for Giannis.
It's new, but he's done it. Something KD's never done.
Listen, well, KD's dominated all good teams. It's just he's never been able to win on a big stage. Because I get what you're saying, but with Giannis, the problem is teams were able to shut Giannis down. There was a game plan for Giannis up until this year. Miami Heat, they beat him both times in the last 2 years in the playoffs because of the Giannis strategy.
Although I agree with you, yes, nobody has solved KD, correct?
Right.
He still hasn't won a damn thing.
Okay.
Giannis took him 7-8 years, fine. But back-to-back MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year, He's an accomplished superstar in this game. He's now won a finals. He's won a finals MVP. Where's Durant's move?
Hey.
Now, it's easy for me to sit up here and say, well, it's easy to diminish Kate. No, it's not. I'm not diminishing his rings. But you're asking me who I'd rather take? I'd rather take the guy that's proven that he can be built around. He doesn't need to bring superstars in. I don't have to throw away my bench because I need to bring in 2 other superstars to play with him. And then he still can't deliver.
Okay. I have one last question.
All right.
And I hope this is hard for you guys because it's like near impossible for me. So if you just answer off the top of your head, I'm going to be like, what the heck? All right. And Death and Alavila are not options. Know this going into it. If you had to fire one of the Detroit GMs, you've got Brad Holmes, you've got Yzerman, and you've got Troy Weaver. Which are you firing?
Oh, my God. I don't want to fire any of them. Honestly, I don't know. I love all 3 of them. So you can't throw Alavila in there.
No.
So, okay, well,
Death and Alavila not options.
I don't know. This is tough. This is really tough. I love Troy Weaver, and I absolutely love Brad Holmes. And you can't. If Yzerman better not be an answer for anybody. We cannot fire that man. So it's really between Troy or Brad Holmes, and I don't know. I'm gonna say Brad Holmes only because this sounds ridiculous. I'm saying firing Brad Holmes, but if I had to pick between Troy Weaver or Brad Holmes, at least Troy Weaver's done more in his time. He's been here obviously with the Pistons, but he's been more aggressive and he's been making moves. I don't know. I guess I'll go with firing Brad Holmes. I don't know, but I hate saying that. That sounds disgusting coming out of my mouth.
Clip that. Just
Wow.
clip Jeff saying fire Brad
It's absolutely
Holmes.
horrible.
That's a horrible question. You know that?
I know. I just had to do it.
It's a horrible question.
I know.
You're not firing Yzerman.
Heck no.
No.
You're not firing Weaver. Come on. That's not fair to Brad Holmes.
Not fair. It's not fair.
Brad Holmes had a good offseason. He got you 2 first-round picks and a bridge quarterback. Oh, my God.
It's
That's
horrible.
awful. I hate this question.
I knew you would.
Why can't Alavila be in this conversation?
Because that's not. The
I
question
would
would be
rather
over in 2
lose my
seconds.
limbs than fire one of the 3.
That's
And
why I said death is
as long
also
as you
not an
could-
option.
I would rather lose my limbs and fire Alavila than fire one of those 3.
Yeah,
right
what are we
now.
doing? What are we doing?
Are you serious?
What are we doing?
That's a horrible. I hate this question. Shame on you.
Oh,
Shame
God.
on you.
I'd like to
You know
put you
what
guys in
happens
hard
if I go up here and
positions.
answer this question?
Yes,
Oh, if
that's
Adam says the wrong answer.
Do you understand what happens
He is
today,
done.
Kennedy? We're not doing this.
You can all find
I'd
him
rather
on
lose
Twitter
my
at
limbs than
Adam.
fire one of the
Moon.
3. Get it away from me.
All right, I'll get
Yeah,
it away
Avila.
from
We'll just
you.
all mutually agree on Avila.
Yeah, well,
we'll
we
throw
know.
him in there. Yeah.
That's why I left him out of the conversation.
It's too easy with him, yeah.
All right. Well, we have a special guest coming up next, so stick around for that. We've got to talk some college football. But before we go, we need to hear about our friends over at MyBookie, please, Adam.
Guys, Tom Brady returns to New England for the biggest game of the year, and the stakes have never been higher at MyBookie. Whether you're backing the Bucks or the Patriots this Sunday, remember, there's money to be won on MyBookie. Bet from anywhere, anytime, visiting mybookie.com. Sign up using code Woodward today to get up to a 50% deposit match. You put in $100, they'll give you $50. You put in $200, they'll give you $100. And if you want to take Brady or Bill, be my guest. I still haven't made a decision on it, but again, MyBookie is the place to be. And please, if you have a gambling issue and you need help, please call the gambling hotline at 1-800-270-7177.
Tony is a third-generation logger that has a simple, practical approach to life and work. That's why his Coast DX342 knife is perfect for him. The stainless steel blade is rust-resistant and made for all-weather use. And the double roll-lock safety ensures that it will never inadvertently close when he doesn't want it to. That's why Coast is trusted tough.
Make sure you download the Woodward Sports app in the App Store and the Google Play Store today. Take Woodward Sports with you wherever you go and listen live on your phone or mobile device.
Welcome back, everybody. You're tuning into the Morning Woodward Show right here on the Woodward Sports Network. It's Hump Day, and my friends in the chat have also made me realize it's National Coffee Day, so I hope everyone's getting their caffeine in this morning. Nice and awake, feeling good. All right, we have a very special friend hanging out with us here in a second, Jason Strayhorn. Listen, we love talking MSU football, right here on this network. They take on Western Kentucky this weekend. I believe it's their homecoming game. It's a 7:30 game under the lights. I'm pumped. I think I might be going to this one. Jeff, how are you feeling about Michigan State this season in general?
Oh, I'm feeling great. Obviously, before the season, me and Adam had many discussions about what we expected out of Mel Tucker and just overall predictions for the Spartans. And for them to be 4-0 heading into Western Kentucky, you got Rutgers, and then you got Indiana up until that Michigan game, it's impressive. I mean, Rutgers might be a tough game for them. We saw they played Michigan, but they're going to win versus Western Kentucky, and I believe they can get the win against Indiana. So this should put this team at, 7-0 possibly, if not 6-1, before that Michigan versus Michigan State game. Two teams going into that game undefeated would be just spectacular. The hype for it would be off the charts, and me and Adam would love discussing it, because that's really the things we want to know is what happens if Mel Tucker beats Jim Harbaugh again. That's what we're all waiting for. It's in 3-4 weeks. It's going to be great. So far, Mel Tucker's done an amazing job. We can go on and on about the job he's done with the Spartans.
All right, well, speaking of the Spartans and Mel Tucker, we've got inside the locker room's very own Jason Strayhorn joining the morning show today. Jason, how you doing, bud?
Doing fantastic. How's everybody doing?
Hey, thanks for joining us this morning. Jason, I want to get your thoughts first. Obviously, we all know Mel Tucker and Michigan State are 4-0 right now. It's been an impressive start. Mm-hmm. I want to get your thoughts first on his ability in the offseason. Forget the 4 wins already this year. Kind of walk us through how good of a job he did, not only in the transfer portal, but his recruiting class, his first ever recruiting class.
I think Mel Tucker has done a phenomenal job, being able to overcome the adversity that he had a year ago, being hired late in the hiring cycle for college coaches. Typically, they usually come in the December months, January, but it was late February when the coaching change was made, and he didn't have much time to try to get his staff together, and then COVID hit. So as everyone's dealing with the pandemic and everything that they had to deal with, he's still trying to actually hire his staff and figure out who his personnel was. And the season was off, then it came back on. So he got a real quick snapshot as to what his personnel was, but he was able to really turn things around quickly by getting into the transfer portal, getting on the road, doing a lot of Zoom recruiting, because they were limited a year ago as far as how they could recruit. But they did a decent job of bringing in good talent, and they were able to flip the roster. 41 new faces right now on the roster from a year ago, and you can obviously see the talent upgrade that they have, and it's showing. And Michigan State is 4-0 to start the season.
Thanks, Jason, for taking the time to join us. Obviously, Peyton Thorne, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception on the season. With the success he's had thus far, me and Adam talk about him being the best quarterback at Michigan State since maybe Connor Cook. What are your thoughts on the job he's done so far to help lead the Spartans to 4-0?
I think he's done a phenomenal job. He had to overcome a lot. Anthony Russo was brought in here as a transfer from Temple, who had a lot of success. He's in his 6th year. So this wasn't a walk in the park for Peyton Thorne. He had to compete at a high level in order to take this job, and that's exactly what he was able to do. He's a guy who comes from a coaching pedigree. Both his father and his grandfather, both college coaches at the Division II and III level. So he's been around it his whole life. He comes from a very strong program in Naperville Central in Illinois that has players like Jaden Reed as number 1 receiver, and there's a lot of Division I talent that comes from that program. So he was able to step in here. He had a start a year ago against Penn State, but you can just see how the team gravitates towards him when he's on the road. You can see it in the hotels. You can see it on the practice field. You can see how everyone just wants to be around Peyton. And that's when you can tell you have a leader, a guy who's going to represent the program well, and he's done a great job of it so far.
All right, Jason, my question for you is going to be Michigan State heading into they're playing Western Kentucky. This is a game you guys probably should win, likely to win. You move to 5-0. Then you have Rutgers, and of course the big game in East Lansing everybody is waiting for. Michigan Wolverines visit East Lansing Halloween night. It could be a potential 6-0 Michigan State versus maybe an undefeated 1-loss Michigan. We'll have to wait and see how they do against Wisconsin and Nebraska. kind of walk us through the implications of that game, not only for the programs, because I think it's a really good thing for the Big Ten if they both walk in undefeated on Halloween night, but walk me through the implications not only for Mel Tucker, but Jim Harbaugh if either of them win or lose this game.
I think, number one, we're missing a game. We do have an Indiana game, so it should be 7-0 if Michigan State's able to run the table. Go on the road twice after this game against Western Kentucky, which is a homecoming game. Then you go to Rutgers with Greg Schiano, who's a very tough, hard-nosed coach that everyone in Rutgers really fought hard to get back on campus. So that's not an easy game, as Michigan was able to see a week ago. Very close game in Ann Arbor. So on the road, it's a very underrated program that Greg Schiano is building over there. And then you've got to go down to Indiana and Bloomington, where Tom Allen has a team. A year ago they were in the national spotlight. This year they've been a little bit up and down. They actually played Western Kentucky a week ago, and it was very close. Indiana ended up winning the game 33-31. Very close ball game. So this game this week isn't going to be easy. The schedule that Michigan State or any Big Ten team has is you can win any game and you can lose any game. It doesn't matter who you're playing, because all these guys are on scholarship and they all play very, very, very hard. But to your question about what does a big game, Michigan State mean? Both teams are undefeated going into the game. That would be what everybody's hoping for, the collision course between the two schools. Both 7-0, meeting in East Lansing on October 30th, as you said, Adam. It'll be awesome. It will be a huge, huge, huge day. And Michigan State, mean everything to them. I'm going to tell you right now, as a Spartan, a former player, this is the game that you circle, but you can't look at that game until you actually get there. Everybody has it in the back of their mind, and us as fans and prognosticators and sports analysts, we can talk about it. But in that locker room, all they're worried about this week is the Hilltoppers of Western Kentucky.
Fair enough. Jason, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Again, Jason Strayhorn joining us today. He is a co-host along with Brian Musalam on Inside the Locker Room here on the Woodward Sports Network. Jason, before we let you go, I do have one more question, but it's actually going to revolve around Michigan. It's kind of a controversial topic right now. I think it needs to be more of a discussion, but your thoughts on the quarterback situation in Ann Arbor. I believe J.J. McCarthy should be getting more of a look. I don't believe Cade McNamara can win you football games, but I definitely think he can lose you football games. And I think the complete opposite of J.J. McCarthy. Where do you stand on this?
There's a reason that J.J. McCarthy is not playing right now. It's not about his talent level. I think it's about one thing only. That's his familiarity with the playbook. As a quarterback, there's a lot of things you have to be aware of in the blitz pickup situations, which means, young guys can get in the game too early and end up getting themselves really hurt. Because believe me, those defenses that are opposing the Michigan offense would love to have a shot on an opposing quarterback, a Wolverine quarterback, if they had it. So once those coaches get comfortable enough with him and his grasp of the playbook, I think you will see him, because he does have a bigger upside, but it's when that change will happen. You have to be ready at any time, because you're always one play away as a quarterback anyway. Any player is. It's a next man up mentality down in Ann Arbor, which we expect. But I think that this is the sole reason that he is not playing. So fans, got to settle down a bit and wanting the guy who has the more sizzle to his name, because it's about health and safety at this point.
All right, you guys. That was awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Jason. Always fun to talk Michigan football with the guy that knows it all, right? Yeah. Who knows more? No one, pretty much. So coming up next, we've got to preview our Detroit Pistons and Red Wings. I know our girl Tammy in the chat will be pumped about that. Coming up, stick right here with us. But before we go, I need to tell you about my new sponsor, Legacy Partners. All right, when you watch games, you are often bombarded by insurance ads. They promise you to save you money, but let me tell you, if you really want to save money, you need my new sponsor, Legacy Partners Insurance. They're independent, so they shop 7 to 10 carriers for you to find your best deal when it comes to insurance. Here's what I need you to do. I need you to call 586-209-4106 and tell them that Kennedy sent you, not Maz. I know we've got a hashtag Team Maz going on around here, but this one is hashtag Team Kennedy. Tell them that I sent you, and just for getting a quote and telling them I sent you, you'll be put in a drawing for a $50 gift card. So call or go to legacypartnersins.com/Woodward today. We'll see you after the break.
Okay, you thirsty little spin goblins. I want you to pedal into the next dimension. Spin it! Spin! Spin! Uh-oh! Carmen's falling behind. Let's give her the hiss of shame. Spin! Spin! Spin till you bleed!
Don't ride the bike of shame. Come to Planet Fitness and find your own lane with tons of equipment, free fitness training, and no hissing. Join today for just $10 a month.
Welcome back, everybody. Happy Hump Day and happy National Coffee Day, my favorite drink. Good morning. I hope you're all having your coffee right here with us on Woodward Sports. You guys, hockey is back. The Red Wings just wrapped up a 6-day training camp in Traverse City, which gave us some insight on their upcoming roster, but a lot will be answered during this 8-game preseason that begins today at 8:30 in Chicago. They're taking on the Chicago Blackhawks. You guys, what are your expectations for this Red Wings team? Who wants to start?
I'll start. So, the Red Wings are in a unique situation. They're almost so close to being out of a rebuild. I think they could surprise a few people this year. They're young, and they're going to make mistakes, of course. They're going to go through their growing pains. But similar to how we watched the Detroit Pistons last year, I expect something very similar with the Red Wings this year. Losing, of course, which is fine, but the young guys getting a lot of reps and experience, and you're really going to figure out who is who on this team, who's going to step up. And there's some really promising prospects finally getting their chance to get on the ice. I'm excited for it. We'll see how Jeff Blashill handles it. And is it fair to even judge Jeff Blashill until he's had a proper team put around him? I'm not sure. He is the development-esque type of coach. That's what he's known for. But is he the guy to take your team to the next level? That I'm not sure of. But regarding this season, I think you're looking at a 24, 26, 28-win team. Anything more, great. But again, I'm not looking for wins and losses from the Red Wings this year. I'm looking for the youth players to really, really step up and really make an impact. Jeff, your thoughts?
No, it's the same exact thoughts. This is a season to truly see what the rookies look like on the ice. The guys that couldn't play last year, now getting guys like Sebastian Kosa, the goalie this year in the first round, and then you got Simon Edvidson. There's other guys you want to see on the ice, but more importantly, you have Jacob Vrana dealing with that shoulder injury. Hopefully he can return to start the season, but more importantly, want to see how this Bertuzzi situation plays out. He can't go to Canada to play games because of the vaccine situation, but if we're just looking at the Red Wings as a team, I completely agree with you. This year, they're going to surprise a lot of people in terms of, I would compare them to the Pistons, but better. They got more talent than the Pistons did last year, but I can see them playing every good team to the very end like the Pistons. They can pretty much stack up with any team as long as Jeff Blashill, all the flack he got before signing that extension. Now you have a team of promising young players that are going to develop quickly. So this is the time to evaluate them, and I like the chances in the Wings this year, at least making some noise. I don't think they're going to be as bad as the Pistons, scoring another top 5 pick, but I like the Wings' chances. I can't wait to see the Red Wings this year, man. It's going to be fun. A lot of young guys.
Yeah, last year their penalty kill was 22nd in the league. Again, I have the same approach with the Lions. Look at their statistical categories from last year. And then now you're under year one in Dan Campbell. By the end of the season, I'd like to see each one improved, whether it's slightly or significantly. It doesn't matter to me. I just want to see improvement. All right, cool. Now you look at Jeff Blashill. Last year, here's what you were ranked as. Let's improve our power play. Let's improve our penalty kill. Let's limit the amount of penalties we're committing.
Right.
Let's limit the amount of goals we're giving up per game. Those are those small things that you look for, and you say, you know what, if we improved from last season with this young core, I'm excited a year or two down the line where I really think this team is probably competing for cups by year 3, year 4 right now. 2-3 years, they're 3 years out from competing, I think. 2 would be a push, But I really think year 3 is when they kind of take that Tampa Bay Lightning step, where you see them early on in the playoffs. Whether or not they get through the first or second round, we'll have to wait and see. But I think it's a playoff team by year 3 at the latest.
We can mutually, at least I would predict this year. I think they'll just miss the playoffs this year and hopefully into next year. You want to make the stride to make the playoffs and so on. So that way in your timeline, year 3 lines up perfectly. I think year 3 they could start really making some noise, especially these young guys. Give them 2-3 years to develop. My Lord.
My only concern with the Detroit Red Wings this year is going to be who's scoring. Like, we all love Dylan Larkin, such a great guy. He's the captain of the team. Kennedy has a crush on him. We don't have to talk about that right now.
This is true. I love my Waterford boy.
But who's your goal getter?
Hopefully Verano when he gets back.
Yeah, well,
he needs to get back.
Verano was legit last year. It was a really
legit.
good trade they made. But still, like, you can't just rely on one or two guys.
Right.
You really need a team effort. And who's going to get us the goals this year? I think the Red Wings in 3 years could have the best defensive line across the board from 1 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
They could have the 3 best pair of defensive linemen in the entire NHL. Like, they are so deep on defensemen. It's unbelievable. But you need goal scorers. You can stay in games with good defense. You win them by scoring. So yes, Verana, Larkin, you're hoping, Raymond, you have players that you'd like to develop into goal scorers. But you really need them to showcase that year 1 and then year 2 really take that 24 to 28 goal scoring season into effect. Maybe even past 30. Those are the guys you need on your team. And that's what I think that's what I think this team is really missing right now, goal scorers. I think the goaltending situation 2 years from now we'll be looking back like, wow, they got that right. 2 years from now on the defenseman side, wow, they got that right. They nailed every single one of those picks. And
having a good defense.
Where are the goals coming from?
Having a good defense helps that, though. We can agree
100%.
on that. So hopefully 100%. They get it all figured out.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for this Red Wings team. I mean, I liked when I heard coming out of camp that Zadina and Larkin and Bertuzzi were on a line together. But then again, we have to talk about Bertuzzi's not going to be playing in all of these games. I think, 30 games or something that he'll be out of. I mean, that's a good chunk of the season. We can't ignore that. And I think it's kind of a bummer because this team is so young. It's like Bertuzzi's almost one of the older ones, even though he is still young. And especially we needed him to kind of be a leader. And, when you're out 30 games, what message does this send to your team at where they rank in level of importance? I don't know. I don't think it's a great... And the fact that he's the only one on the entire team, I mean, he's the only one unvaccinated, and that's going to have this issue. And he's one of our
I don't know
players.
how I feel about that, honestly. I mean, players in the NFL right now, mostly vaccinated, unvaccinated, like, it hasn't been an issue yet. I mean, you can get false positives on the test. So we've seen AB out. Is he asymptomatic? I'm not sure. Like, there's just way too many question marks about this whole COVID thing, and whether or not you testing positive. How does it affect the team? How does it affect the people around you? I don't know.
Well, the difference is though, like in the NFL, unless they're sick, unless they test positive, they don't have to miss any games. He has to miss games regardless. I mean, the majority of our conference, not the majority, but a lot of our conference, they are those Canadian teams. I mean, it sucks. I'm not happy with him. I'll just say it. I don't care.
All right, fair enough. We got to move on to the Pistons, don't we?
Yes.
All right.
October 6th against the Spurs is their first preseason game. But, Jeff, I got to ask you, who are you excited about? For me, it's actually Garza. My amped upness is revving for him. Obviously, we know Cade's going to excel, but so I want to see Luka Garza. He's the one that I want to see really kill it this season. What about you, Jeff?
Mine it's different. Like, the obvious answer to me would be Cade Cunningham, or you could even say Garza, but I'm going to say Killian Hayes because when we selected him at the 7th overall pick, I had high hopes for the guy, and especially first year struggling, getting injured. I'm hoping taking that leap this year. That's what I'm expecting. Got Cade Cunningham, who's going to get more of the ball handling duties. Hopefully it can open up more for Killian Hayes. We've seen him, at least in the summer league, he knocked down some nice three-point shots. At least from what I've seen, his games looks better. He's looked like he's developing more things into his arsenal. But in terms of just being able to watch a player, it's between really Killian Hayes or Sadiq Bey. Those two guys I'm really excited. Or even Isaiah Stewart. You've seen Ben Wallace working with him at training camp. So I can't wait, man. Those three guys, those three cats are going to be pretty nice to watch. But if you don't say Cade, you're crazy. And that's the guy
I think
you
the
watch.
easy answer is Cade. Probably Garza second, just because the story going into the summer league completely dominated the summer league and earned a contract with the Detroit Pistons. But my eye is going to be strictly on Killian Hayes and Sadiq Bey. Sadiq Bey really needs to develop his game and mold it into a spot up jump shooter who can also kind of handle and get a mid-range shot going, but he shouldn't be ball handling at all. He needs to accept that role. He did it a lot in the summer league. I'm curious to see how he plays in the preseason. But if I'm Dwayne Casey, and if I understand anything that Dwayne Casey's been preaching and what he's done in the past in Toronto, he doesn't want a two-guard dominating the ball right now when he has two viable point guards, a rookie potential star player, and then you have Jeremy Grant now on the court. That is a lot of mouths to feed. And Sadiq Bey really needs to get comfortable with not having the ball, running around the entire time, finding his spots, getting open, and hitting shots without even dribbling the ball. That's what Sadiq Bey needs to develop more into. You look at Killian Hayes, man, you were taken with the number 7th overall pick. A lot of busts in the lottery always. You really don't want Killian Hayes turning out to be a bust. That is not good business for the Detroit Pistons. Granted, they did get Cade Cunningham the following year. Great, but Troy Weaver isn't taking into account that, hey, Killian Hayes isn't going to be a good basketball player. You need him to develop. You need him to play well. So ideally, you look for that as well. And then you look at Jeremy Grant. How selfish are you going to be this year? I'm being so serious. I'm asking, how selfish is Jeremy Grant going to be? If he thinks he's going to get away with putting up 22, 23 points a game and try fitting in all-star numbers, and then people around here actually saying he should have been an all-star, we're going to have a big problem. I need to figure out if my young guys are capable of playing in the NBA. Now, granted, the NBA is a league where if you're looking for a superstar, they typically don't develop till year 4 or 5. If you're looking for a good all-star player, year 3, maybe year 2 if they're just that good. But year 3, year 4 is when you figure out if they can be an all-star. And then if they're just an average player, you figure it out pretty quickly. You're trying to figure out if Killian Hayes is an average player or if he can be an all-star or anything more than that. But right now, he doesn't have star ceiling. Right now, he has all-star ceiling. And granted, he hasn't been on the court as much as you'd like last year. And this will be hopefully his first full season. But you need to see more Killian Hayes. And I don't like the thought of Killian Hayes not working out in Detroit. You really need him to. On-ball defense, he's not bad. He'll develop. Everybody, their on-ball defense with Dwayne Casey will improve. Everybody will become a better defender. That's good. Killian Hayes needs to develop a jump shot. He needs to be less, I don't want to say aggressive, but less...
More aggressive, if anything, because he's just too passive. That's what I see when I watch Killian Hayes.
If that's the word, what I see is, careless. That's the word I'm looking for. Not as careless. I don't mind aggression, but don't be careless.
Right.
Value every possession. And we'll see what happens. I'm not putting a figure or a statistical number on any of these players. I just want to see improvement and development. Because we know this team isn't competing this year. So move on. Player development. Let's focus on that. Kennedy, your thoughts?
My thoughts on the Pistons? I mean, I'm excited. Once again, another young team. I mean, that's the most exciting thing to me. I love that all of our Detroit teams are just getting younger and younger, and then they're going to just have this chemistry, and they're going to be able to grow together and stick together for a long time. I think that's going to be one of Detroit sports as a whole's strong suits. So I can't wait. I think the Pistons are only going to need a few years, and then we're going to be set, and I'm very excited. All right, we have to go to break. Coming up next, we have an interview. I saw you guys in the chat. You're like, what the heck? We're talking Michigan State, but not Michigan. We've got you covered with this interview coming up next. Stick around for that. But before we go, we need to hear about our friends over at Papa Romano's.
Listen, tomorrow we got Thursday Night Football. All right, you can call what you want. Cincinnati Bengals versus Jacksonville Jaguars. Might not be a very entertaining Thursday Night Football game, but you know what is entertaining? ordering a Papa Romano's pizza and just eating it up instead of watching this game. Because, listen, they have handcraft pizzas that have made them a Detroit favorite for over 50 years. House-made dough, hand-cut veggies, fresh cheese make the difference. And the same quality goes on to all their pizzas, salads, subs, and pitas. Order now. Go to this website, paparomanos.com. Get yourself a delicious pizza.
Fellas, football season is here. It's time to make your grooming experience easy like Sunday morning. Get to Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. Walk in, relax, watch your favorite team play, and before you know it, your hair will be game ready. Get to Lady Jane's, open 10 to 8, 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Morning, Art. Morning, D-Mac.
Welcome back, everybody. You're tuning into the Morning Woodward Show right here on the Woodward Sports Network. Happy to have you here. Like I said, we've got a very special guest that's got to talk some Michigan football with us. We've got Brandon Brown, publisher of Wolverine Digest from Sports Illustrated. You guys, this is huge. Welcome, Brandon. We are so happy to have you and talk some Michigan football.
Hey,
How
Brandon,
are you?
How are you, man?
I'm pretty good. That's quite the introduction there. This is huge. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'm ready to roll. How you guys doing today?
Good.
All right, Brandon, I gotta start off with Michigan. 4-0 this season. Obviously 2-4 last year. They had a rough start. It was a COVID year. It was tough to really make an assessment, but all we knew really was this team didn't look all that great. And now we're heading into year 7 under Harbaugh. They're 4-0. They've got a big game against Wisconsin on the road this week. Walk us through expectations. I know there wasn't much going into the year, but now they're sitting comfortable in the AP polls. They're 4-0. They've got an away game to a Wisconsin team that was just embarrassed by Notre Dame. Then they follow that up with a stubborn Nebraska team. It's not going to get any easier for Michigan from here. What are your expectations going forward?
They've shifted a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I had them, I thought the Washington game would be tougher week 2. They just aren't very good. I mean, they come out week 1 and lose to Montana. Then Michigan beats them by 21 at home. I mean, that was a game I thought would be pretty tricky. I actually had them losing that game coming into the season, and then once the season started, I shifted a little bit. So they're already beyond my expectations a little bit, but you mentioned it. I mean, last year wasn't very good. Things were broken. Jim Harbaugh cleaned house, brought in a whole new staff, and there haven't really been any bumps in the road yet. I mean, last week the second half was pretty ugly, but a win is a win. They are 4-0. They're number 14 in the country. And Wisconsin looks beatable. That's a place Michigan hasn't won in a long time. And Wisconsin has certainly had Michigan's number over the last couple of years. So I think Michigan's got a shot. The game's essentially a toss-up. I mean, when you look at the spread and the betting numbers. But Wisconsin, like you said, got beat pretty handily by Notre Dame, got beat at home by Penn State. So, yeah, I mean, Michigan, before the season started, I wasn't sure what to expect. And now it literally looks like they could win every game on their schedule, which is pretty crazy if you think about how last year looked and all the changes and all the unknowns coming into the season. But it's a testament to this new young staff getting the guys ready. And so far, so good in the win-loss column anyway. But there's definitely some concerns heading into Camp Randall this weekend with the passing game and the kind of the offense as a whole. But Wisconsin looks pretty beatable this year, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Brandon, number 1. Number 2, me and Adam always bicker all the time about how important October 30th is when Michigan faces Mel Tucker and the Spartans at Spartan Stadium. In your opinion, what could possibly be the repercussions of Jim Harbaugh if he were to lose his second straight game against Mel Tucker?
Yeah, that is not a good look. I mean, if Michigan goes through the season this year and, wins the games that, quote unquote, they should win, the teams that, the Rutgers of the world, Northwestern, Maryland, those are games that Michigan should win pretty much every year. Finishes 8-4, maybe even 9-3, but 2 of those losses are to, again, Michigan State and Ohio State. That's, I don't know, year 7, Jim Harbaugh would be 0-for at that point again against Ohio State, and now under 500 against Michigan State and 0-2 against Mel Tucker, he's in a rebuild. That's not a very talented team. They're certainly better this year than they were last year. The last year's loss was awful. I mean, that was a terrible loss for Michigan inside the Big House, like 22-something point favorite, whatever it was. That would be a really bad look. I mean, no matter how many wins there ends up being at the end of the year, if you lose to your two biggest rivals, in year 7 against Mel Tucker, who's just trying to get it figured out still, that would really, really be a bad look. It'd be hard to defend that. Again, no matter how many total wins there are, having losses to those two teams would be a bad look for Jim Harbaugh in year 7.
Brandon, thank you again. I would like to ask you about your thoughts on Jim Harbaugh's time here at Michigan so far. I've been maybe one of the few that have really, I don't want to say defended Jim Harbaugh, but put his first 6 seasons into perspective. I compare them to Dabo Swinney's first 6 years. Very similar records, very similar bowl appearances, very similar 10-win seasons. But what I don't like is Jim Harbaugh hasn't figured out the quarterback situation. And what we've seen with Dabo Swinney is he was just a good coach in the ACC winning football games, and then he got Deshaun Watson, and then he followed that up with Trevor Lawrence, and they became national contenders. And now we're sitting here, you look at the 6 years prior to Jim, they weren't ranked in the AP poll top 7 maybe only one time. They've done it 3-4 times under Jim Harbaugh, and they've walked into the last game of the season against Ohio State ranked 2nd and 3rd. It's a really tricky situation for me to get my mind around. What are your thoughts on Jim Harbaugh so far at Michigan?
I think he's been a pretty big disappointment. I've been pretty open about that. I mean, it's nothing personal. I think Jim Harbaugh was one of the, if not the hottest names in coaching when he was hired, and everybody expected him to be great. And I think he's been good, and that's not good enough. And the 0-for against Ohio State, never playing for a Big Ten title, 500 against Michigan State. And honestly, if you really break down the numbers overall, what he's done against Power 5 teams, he's barely 500 against teams that are 500. So he beats up on the bad teams and pretty much loses to the teams with a pulse. I mean, that's kind of what he's done. And so this weekend, I think, whether Wisconsin is undefeated and in the top 10 or wherever they're sitting right now at 1-2, this is a huge game because this is a game typically that Jim Harbaugh's Michigan teams have struggled in on the road against a team with a pulse. And he was hired to do bigger things, and he hasn't done those things. I mean, it's not like we ever saw like the outline of his contract or if there was a checklist on it, but he was hired to be competitive with Ohio State, get back on the right side of things against Michigan State, and compete for Big Ten titles, and he's 0 for all of those. So I don't know. I mean, I think it speaks volumes when you look at him heading into year 7. His contract is cut in half. His buyout is essentially eliminated. I know it was a COVID year, but this isn't how it was supposed to look. That's my pretty strong opinion. He was hired to be better, and he's just come up short in all the biggest areas of what he was hired to do.
I do agree from that standpoint. What I would push back with is you look at his strength of schedule since he's been at Michigan. It's nearly double any Michigan head coach has ever experienced the 20 years prior. Now, again, I don't want to be the guy making excuses for Jim. You need to beat Ohio State at least once since you've been here. You can't lose these measly games to Michigan State. You can't lose to an Indy. Like, these games are bad. He has really bad losses on his resume. You can't hide from that. And before the season ever started, I said if he lost to Michigan State, it is more of a fireable offense immediately than losing to Ohio State. I already know Ohio State's the better program. I already know they have better talent. That doesn't tell me anything. Ohio State's been dominating this rivalry for the last 30 years. I know this already. It doesn't tell me much. But, yes, to your point, he was brought in to beat Ohio State. He was brought in to win a Big Ten championship, and he hasn't delivered yet. So, although I can point out all the good things maybe he's done, there are glaring holes in his time here at Michigan. But before we let you go, I got to ask you one more question. I'm already on board of having at least the conversation. I'm not saying we have to make a decision this week. But I think there needs to be a bigger conversation in Ann Arbor about J.J. McCarthy and Cade McNamara. And my thoughts on Cade McNamara are I think he can lose you games 100%. I really do. And I also think he can't win you games. And that's not a good situation to be in as a head coach. Like, if I don't game plan perfectly and everything doesn't go well, we have a really bad chance of losing, and you can't dig me out of a hole. I don't want a quarterback like that. And I look at J.J. McCarthy, yes, a freshman, yes, probably doesn't know the entire playbook, but at least I get more dynamic play out of my quarterback. And the team is already down Ronnie Bell, so they're already limited enough. I think J.J. McCarthy's the better option, although I think Jim Harbaugh will play it safe and probably stick with Cade. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, you can make an argument to go with JJ and just, see what the young guy's got. He's certainly got more arm talent. He's more mobile. He's the future. You could make a pretty strong argument. You might as well get him in there and see what you got, because through 4 games, Cade has not been good. I mean, there have been some stats that have come out since the Rutgers game wrapped up that you just can't even – you almost can't believe they're real. The only teams in the country throwing the ball less than Michigan are Army, Navy, Air Force, the 3 service academies who run the triple option. Cade McNamara goes 1 for 5 for 7 yards in the entire second half of a very competitive game against Rutgers. Cade McNamara now ranks 15th in the Big Ten in pass attempts. There's only 14 teams in the Big Ten, so he's now behind 2 quarterbacks at Illinois. Brandon Peters and Art Sikowski have both thrown the ball more than Cade McNamara has. It's just I know he's been against Northern Illinois. He only played a half. I get it, but it doesn't matter. Look at the game plan. Look how they've approached things. Jim Harbaugh said before the season that Cade McNamara's best talent is making everyone around him better, and there's no way he believes that, because that's not how the game's been called. That's not what they've asked him to do. They've gone in a shell. If that Rutgers game was 4 or 5 minutes longer, that might be a loss, at least in overtime. I mean, they weren't stopping him in the second half, and they weren't doing anything on offense. So to get back to your original question, I mean, if you go away from Cade McNamara now, he's going to be the 5th quarterback in a row that Jim Harbaugh has recruited and will have transferred. He's not going to stick around. I mean, if you bench him now, you go to JJ, he's gone. He's out of there. That's not really a problem for Jim Harbaugh to worry about if he does move to JJ McCarthy. But to your point earlier, the quarterback situation under Jim Harbaugh has been very, very puzzling, and it just doesn't look like, if they need Cade McNamara to throw it 35 times and put up 300 yards and a handful of touchdowns, I don't really know if he can do that. I mean, he did it last year against Rutgers, but that was Rutgers. It was no fans in the stands. It was we just haven't seen very much out of him, and especially when Jim Harbaugh talks about him the way he does, you'd think it would show itself a little bit more on the field, and it hasn't so far.
Yeah, Brandon, it's always been odd under Jim Harbaugh. It seems like the backup quarterback was always better than the starting quarterback for some reason. It never really made sense. But we got to let you go. I can't thank you enough, Brandon, for coming on the morning show today. We really appreciate it. Would love to have you back anytime. Just shoot us a text. Great guest. We really appreciate your insight, and thank you for answering all of our questions. We'll talk to you soon, hopefully, and enjoy your weekend, and hopefully Michigan comes out with a win against Wisconsin this weekend. We'll talk to you soon, Brandon. Take care.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
All right.
Yeah, thanks, Brandon.
Thanks, Brandon. That was awesome. You guys, I hope you just got your fill of Michigan football. Now we've done MSU and Michigan. Next, we got to talk some good things about the Lions, you guys. They are moving up in the power rankings. Bless the Lord. If you guys don't know where you should be watching this upcoming Lions game, by the way, we have a pregame show happening at O'Toole's. So join Woodward Sports DraftKings, Jose Cuervo, and Riff for the Lions pregame show this Sunday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. live from O'Toole's. We are facing off against the Bears. You guys already know this. Big game. Going to see if we can beat Justin Fields. And I think we can. If we were this close to Baltimore, we can do it against the Bears. I am confident. So come out, watch the Lions hopefully win, and win some great Woodward Sports prizes and more. All right, now we need to hear about our friends over at Guardian Alarm.
Yeah, listen, Guardian Alarm, if you know anybody that has suffered a situation where their home has been broken into, Guardian Alarm will make sure that does not happen again, because they get it. A good defense on and off the field helps you feel secure, and Guardian Alarm has state-of-the-art technology that helps you feel safe, all with 24/7 local monitoring. Guardian Alarm also has convenient features that let you check in on your home, control lights and temperatures, detect smoke or carbon monoxide when you're not home. It will even let you lock and unlock doors. You call 800-STAY-OUT today. That's 800-STAY-OUT. Guardian Alarm has been trusted for over 90 years at keeping families safe.
I'm looking to bring on another HVAC tech right now.
We're recruiting 5 to 10 techs a month.
We're looking to grow and expand. Every new tech we hire is from Northwestern Tech.
The hands-on training is fantastic.
They're always my first call.
We love hiring Northwestern Tech grads.
They come out trained and ready to work.
Our program is only 10 and a half months, and our next classes are starting soon. So why wait?
I'm looking to hire
Hire a graduate
of Northwestern Tech. Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
Welcome back, everybody. You're tuning into the Morning Woodward Show right here on the Woodward Sports Network, featured on the Roar 93.5 FM, 99.1 FM, and 94.7 HD2. Happy to have you here. It is Wednesday. It's beautiful outside. We got this, people, halfway through the week, which means we're kind of close to some NFL football. The Lions have moved up to 27th in the NFL Power Rankings. Well, for NFL.com, that is. They were previously at 31. Now they're at 27. Most websites had us moving up, except for one, I want to say. Yes, sportingnews.com was the only one that moved us down. They had us at 28. Now they have us at 29. But every other website moved us up. So, Adam, what are you thinking about that? I'm pumped.
No, they should be going up. The Jaguars, awful.
Ugh.
The Bears, awful.
Mm-hmm.
The Jets, awful. The Lions should be moving up. They came into the season at 31, okay? And now we're sitting here, they're at 27. How the Texans are above them or behind them, I get it. Their quarterback's out. It makes sense to me, so I don't really have an issue with it. The Bears are behind them. The Giants are behind them, deservedly so. The Jaguars are behind them, deservedly so. And, of course, the Jets. I like it. 27 is good. They're going to be fighting between 26 and 32 all season. What's going Detroit's way is they've played 3 potential playoff teams. And, I don't even want to acknowledge week 1 because that was a blowout. Whether you want to admit it or not, they scored 16 points past the 2-minute warning. Like, granted, a lot of things had to go their way, but that was a 2-3 score game. But we'll move on. They improved from that week against Green Bay. Came out with a perfect first half against Green Bay. But it was scripted. And then the second half, 0. And then you go into Baltimore, the first half, 0. The script didn't work. Halftime adjustments, great. They made halftime adjustments. They came out and they played a real good ball game against Baltimore. Yes, they should have won. But you know what? They didn't. And I don't want to keep revisiting all the things that had to happen for them to lose that game. But only the Lions could have accounted for all those things that have happened. It's only ever them. I would love to see the day. And I hope throughout the season, Dan Campbell is in the same situation again. Down by, let's say, 1 or 2 points. You're in your opponent's side of the field. And we're at the 2-minute warning. Your opponent has all 3 timeouts. Be aggressive and go for the first down. Forget the touchdown. Go for the first down. And if you convert it, you're taking a knee to end the game. Run a 6-yard out route or a quick slant. You're running the clock. They gotta stop the clock. You run the ball on second down. Cool. You set yourself up with either 3rd and short, which means you're in the position to go for it on the next 2 downs. Or you just convert on 3rd and the game's over. And they can't stop the clock and you're kneeling, ready to win the football game. I just want to see that. I want to see the Lions win football games this year, not other teams lose it. That would be ideal. But to get into their rankings, 27th, they are very well set up right now to head into Chicago and get their first win under Dan Campbell. They've done a good job fighting for this coach. They've put out a good product, but it's been inconsistent, which makes it a worthless product. Because if you only work for me in the first half and not the second half, it's useless. If you only work for me in the second half and not the first half, that's useless. You can't have these donut moments. And granted, new head coach, it's a team void of talent, but 27th is where they're likely to be over the next few weeks. And they may go down, they may go up. I'm not sure. We'll see how the season plays out. But this isn't a football team where I'm going to sit here and, judge the head coach on win-losses. I'm going to judge him on decision-making, player improvement, team improvement. But yeah, great. They're an 0-3 team that's above 2 teams that have won a game. Great. Like, what else do you want me to say? Honestly, I'm asking everybody at home a question. What do you want me to say about this team that they're 27th in the power rankings? Honestly, Jeff?
Well, it's not much, obviously. We talked about this before. We discussed they were 30th, I believe, and we said even if they moved to 28th, what's the difference? They're still bottom of the league. But you know what impresses me more? It's the team stats individually. I mean, we're around the middle of the pack in pretty much most categories. Rush yards per game were 14th. Pass yards per game were 14th. First downs were 10th. Sacks were 10th. That's the stuff I like to be. You know, middle of the pack for a team that's void of talent. It's impressive, and I think the main thing is just being more consistent, like you said, all around, because our numbers last year, what were we, almost last in the league in rush, trying to stop the run, and for this defense this year is 15th so far in only 3 games, and it's versus 3 playoff teams. So that's what stands out to me. It's what we're building on. The 3 games, you could say the Packers game we were missing in the second half. The San Francisco game, we were missing till the fourth quarter. And then the Baltimore Ravens game, we didn't score a point until the second half. It's about playing the entirety of the game the same exact way.
I can't give you that. I can't give you the stats aspect. I'll tell you why. I am willing to have that discussion at the end of the year.
No, I
to be fair, right?
I
because they could be easily be, let's say they were ranked top 5 in passing.
Can we agree on this? 3 games. It's a good sample size.
Much better.
Yes.
No, 3. It's not a great sample size, but they look much better than last year. I'll give you that.
I'm saying against who they've played these last 3 games.
It's a very good sample
size
yes,
for a team that has no talent.
3 playoff teams, for sure.
Okay, that's my point I'm trying to make.
But you've seen the ups and downs, like you've said. The 0 points in the first half, second half.
But I don't think it's useless if they're inconsistent. I don't believe in that, especially this team who we're trying to see what they can build off of. If they can stay consistent, they got to be consistent. But I don't believe it's useless, the fact that they can turn it up in a half or the second half. They just got to turn it up at least play consistent the entirety of the game. It would be
and that'll
worse.
come with time. It'll come with time. It's a young roster. It's a young head coach. So again, no one's judging year one. But I won't have the argument about team stats because we're only 3 games in. The Denver Broncos are 3-0 against a combined 0-9 teams.
Right. Like that's different.
Slightly, right? They look good in the 3 games. Their defensive stats are top in the NFL.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see them 17 games in where their stats are. That's all. I'm not trying to diminish the improvement that you have seen on the field. No. But I'm not going to use a 3-game sample size, so I'm not going to entertain that. But I will entertain it at the end of the year, where you show me that they were 32nd and 31st in defense last year, let's say, right? Well, year 1 under Dan Campbell, they improved to 25 and 24. That's good. They improved.
Yeah, that's good.
They improved. Offense, they were, let's say, 15 and 17. Well, they probably finished, let's say they finished 14 and 14. Oh, wow, they improved. And they lost a better quarterback, and they lost their receiving weapons. That's impressive. But I can't have that conversation 3 games in. I can have it at the end of the year, or let's say week 14, 15, where it's kind of, the stats are what they are. You're really not going to move up or down significantly. They could have an amazing game against Chicago and move into a top 7 offense. Or they could have a dud and fall to 27, 28. So it's still too early in the season for me to look at the team stats and say definitively they have improved. But from an eye test standpoint, I like what I'm seeing in moments. It's not all put together. I don't expect it to be this year. I expect it next year to be put together. But this year, I'm seeing it. Matt Rule went 5-11, and that was one of the best 5-11 seasons I've seen from the Carolina Panthers. The same as the year they did prior. But you know what they did? They improved statistically across the board. They went and got their quarterback, and they drafted defensive pieces, and now they have a really good defense. And they just went out and got C.J. Henderson now. The blueprint's out there. I like what Brad Holmes is doing. But I'm not going to sit here and breastfeed Detroit Lions fans because they want to hear good things about their team. What do you want me to tell you? They're 0-3. I don't care about the win-loss record. You seem to do so because everybody is freaking out that they should have beat the Ravens. Why do we care right now? You saw them go toe-to-toe against a much better Baltimore Ravens team. Can't you walk away with that? Instead of that you're cursed and the ref screwed you over? How about you take away that? How about you take away you were up 17-14 against Green Bay at halftime in Lambeau? Except my knock on that would be, well, you scripted a perfect game plan. That typically never happens in the NFL. And why I can say that is you put up 0 in the second half. So, again, they're 27th. I'm okay with it. They should be moving up. I think they're better than all the teams that they have them against, except the Giants. I don't like that they're ahead of the Giants.
Well, they've been in the lead every
Giants
game.
have beaten themselves.
Yeah.
They've held the lead in every single game. They've been in them. The Giants could win next week, be 2-2, and then you're like, well, how do we have a 0-4 or 1-3 team ahead of them?
The Giants just need an offensive line and maybe a new quarterback. And
they definitely need a new quarterback. They definitely need a new GM, and they definitely need an offensive line.
And they'd be on track. They got a good team.
Yeah, so there are those pieces away. But regardless, Kennedy, your thoughts on the Lions being 27th? I'm curious.
I like it. I'm really glad that, they're slowly but surely climbing these power rankings. Obviously, they're probably going to stay somewhere around that area, but the fact that these national media outlets are at least giving them, the tip of the hat of, hey, we're seeing you guys improve. We saw you go toe-to-toe with the Ravens. We saw you guys hold Lamar, and therefore we think you should move up, even though you're 0-3. Who cares? And now I have the confidence going into this game against the Bears that we can win. The Ravens are clearly better than the Bears, and we were right there with them. And like you said, Dan Campbell has just been preaching, we're going to play no matter how far we're down. And I think we're just going to come back and we're going to see this first win.
I want to ask everybody, not only here, but let's just go with the YouTube comments, because there's a lot of discussion on the Lions right now. This is a genuine question. Do you not want to hear constructive criticism against your head coach? Honestly, like, is this like an impossible thing to have a conversation about? Like, I find it hilarious that I can sit up here and say, hey, Dan, you made a mistake, and you actually went back on your word by not being aggressive in the fourth quarter at the 2-minute warning when it was 1st and 10, and you said going into the year, we were going to be more aggressive. We're going to go out and win football games. Well, my friend, you had an opportunity to do so. You didn't. You went back on your word. You took the odds. Well, unfortunately, on that day, the odds went against you. And maybe most days you are right. The Lions do win that game 9 times out of 10. But they didn't. And nobody remembers when you lose. Nobody remembers the Saints getting screwed over, not going to a Super Bowl. They don't care anymore. That's it. You lose the football game, you lose. You lost against Dallas in the playoffs, you lost. That's it. It's not a win. So yes, I am going to sit up here and I'm going to criticize the guy when he makes mistakes, because it was clearly a mistake, regardless of the outcome. You had an opportunity to deliver on what you've been preaching, and you failed to do so. Not my words, his.
Yeah.
You said you wanted to be aggressive. You said you wanted to change the tone and the culture of the city and the team. You didn't want to pull a Jim Caldwell on 4th and 9 in Dallas territory, not going for it. You punted, Dallas goes down and scores. You wanted to right those wrongs. You had your first opportunity. You didn't do it. I'll let it slide. It's year one. I'm letting everything slide this year. I'm not going to judge this guy. But I will criticize him. And if you don't like that, that's a you problem, definitely not a me problem. So you guys tell me, is it so unfair that for 60 years you haven't had a winning product that you could be proud of outside of the Wayne Fonts era? You tell me what you want from this head coach. I'll tell you what I want. Year one, nothing. I just want to see improvement. That's it. Nothing but improvement.
And you've said that.
I don't want. They could go 0-17 or 5-12. I honestly could care less. Give me the better draft position, to be honest. But we've seen in the NFL, you don't need the best draft position to get the right players. Albeit Eric Ebron, Aaron Donald, we know the story. I don't want to keep going over it. But if you lost to Atlanta last year, well, you would have been the team making the trade with the Niners instead of the Giants. Isn't that ironic? You would have gotten all that draft capital. But regardless, I would prefer the higher draft pick, but let's move on. Year one, not a single thing. There will be nothing I will judge his job security on.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to criticize him.
And
I'll praise him when he does the right things. Like, I swear to you, I am not lying when I tell you this. If he would have gone for it, if he would have gone for the first down, not gotten it, kicked the field goal, the Ravens went down and scored with timeouts, I honestly wouldn't have an issue with it. Mm-hmm. You know why? Because he tried to win the football game. You know what he didn't do? Or actually, you know what he did do? He tried not to lose it. That's what he did. He played it safe. And I don't like that. That's just my cup of tea. If you like conservative, if you like, hey, we're playing the odds, go for it. It hasn't worked yet in Detroit. And he made it very clear he was going to change that. Am I missing something, Jeff?
No, you're not missing anything. And I think as much as we argue back and forth, it is constructive criticism because you're just calling things that you see on the field. And I might disagree with most of them, but it doesn't matter. You can still get your opinion out. And I think people just are a little sensitive nowadays to the fact that people are going to differ from opinions. This is sports. Like Adam talks the same exact way. People always misconstrue this. Adam's the same way off air as he is on air. He has the same opinions as his honest opinion. So why fault the guy for saying his honest opinion? I think I'd fault him if he didn't. So that's how I feel about it.
All right. And thank you for that. First of all, Jeff, clearing up the whole Adam thing. But I think that Dan Campbell, I actually did a research paper on him in college in a presentation. So I've done some research on the man that most won't know. But based on what I know about his personality, he would actually enjoy Adam keeping him accountable for these things because he'd won numerous awards in college as a player and in the NFL for his leadership skills in the locker room and as a player. And he's always, accountability is one of his biggest things. He grew up on a farm. He learned how to work hard, how to look after things that he cares about, and that's just the mentality that he has. So I actually think he would enjoy these conversations that Adam has. But anyway, we've got to move on to the NFL teams that are 1 and 2, so not us. That's coming up next, so stick around. But before we go, we need to hear about our friends right here at Lady Jane's.
Listen, if you guys need a haircut and you don't know where to go, you come to Lady Jane's. Come by over in Birmingham or any location that's near you. And, we like Sunday football in the feel of a TV remote in the palm of our hand. Well, you come over to Lady Jane's, you sit in one of these comfy chairs, you get to watch SportsCenter while you're getting your haircut. Lady Jane's are open 7 days a week, 10 to 8. You can walk in any time because they're wicked awesome.
Hi, I'm David Hall from Hall Financial. With historically low interest rates and 5-star service, you could pay your mortgage off faster without increasing your monthly payment. Get started now at 248-308-5000 or chat with us online. Call hallfirst.com.
Make sure you download the Woodward Sports app in the App Store and the Google Play Store today. Take Woodward Sports with you wherever you go and listen live on your phone or mobile device.
Welcome back, everybody. You're tuning in to the Morning Woodward Show right here on the Woodward Sports Network. Happy to have you here. All right, I want to hear from you guys. Who is the most surprising 1 and 2 team in the NFL? Let me read the list for you so far. In the AFC, we've got Miami, New England, and Pittsburgh, and Houston. And then we've got Kansas City. That one's surprising for me. Washington, Philadelphia, Chicago, Minnesota, Atlanta, and Seattle. Jeff, what are you thinking?
The obvious answer is Kansas City because if you look at all the other teams, Pittsburgh, not a lot of people had high expectations for Pittsburgh considering how they played towards the back end of last year. I don't know. It would have to be Kansas City. There's a couple teams that are 1 and 2 that might surprise you, but the fact that Kansas City started out this slow, not offensively, but defensively, if you look at their division, the AFC West, they're last in the AFC West, which if you told me that in the beginning of the year, I would have called you crazy. But if you would have told me that they'd be leading the division in points scored and still be last, it would absolutely blow me away because it makes zero sense. I think the Kansas City are going to start off slow. They're going to pick up towards the middle end of the year. They're going to get some wins, rattle off 8 in a row, whatever the Chiefs do, because I have them in the Super Bowl. That was my pick. And they bolstered that offensive line considering what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did to them last year in the Super Bowl. It's a different team, and I think even if they're 1 and 2, there's still high promise for this team to at least bounce back and rattle off some wins in a row. But out of all the teams that are 1 and 2, it would definitely be the Chiefs. It would definitely be the Chiefs. To be last in their division just surprises me personally. Pittsburgh, not surprised. Houston, clearly not surprised. And, so it'd have to be Kansas City.
Tammy, I'm sorry. I know you're a Steelers fan, but the Steelers suck. So that needs to be said. Big Ben needs to retire. They need to move on. I think the clear pick right now is Seattle and Kansas City. Those are two teams I think we both expect for sure they will be in the playoffs this year. Whether or not they win their division, I think it's more likely for Kansas City than Seattle. Seattle are in a really difficult spot. The Rams are already 3-0. They're 1-2. They've yet to play the Rams. They've yet to play really anybody in their division. It's going to be a test now for all the teams in the NFC West. But going to the AFC West, the Chiefs still have Patrick Mahomes. They still have Andy Reid. They have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. They will be just fine. They really will. But the Steelers just suck. I don't expect them to do much. Guys, I've been saying this about the Steelers for almost 3 years now. I called their bluff last year when they were 10-0, and I barely had them in my top 10 in the NFL in my power rankings. Why? They were frauds. They played nobody. They show up on Monday night. They play Buffalo. They get blown out by almost 30. They were never a good team. Ben Roethlisberger is the definition of a turnover-prone quarterback in the later stages of his career, but also, I want to say, after year 8, year 9, he really became this type of quarterback. Never took his health seriously, and he never took not turning the ball over seriously. He's just so gifted that he was able to get through it all. And, of course, you have Mike Tomlin. He's had very good defenses. Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, the list goes on and on of studs he's played around. Even now, Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster. Now, Najee Harris, he's had weapons, which has kept him afloat. But Pittsburgh, you think the Lions missed out on not getting a quarterback the last 2 seasons, especially the Herbert Tua draft? Go look at the Steelers. They haven't gotten it right in 5-6 years. They should have been planning for this guy moving on and being gone for the longest time. And they failed to do so. Mason Rudolph is not the answer. But to answer the question, yes, I think it's Kansas City and Seattle. I don't think any of those teams really, I don't know. I don't see any of those other 1 and 2 teams. Maybe Minnesota. I like Minnesota a lot. They're getting pressure on the quarterback. Kirk Cousins, we make fun of this guy. Kudos to him. They beat Seattle without Dalvin Cook. They just beat a Seattle Seahawks team without Dalvin Cook. And they were still able to run the ball as they pleased. And Seattle is no pushover. I like Minnesota to be a wild card team maybe this year. If they can beat the Lions and the Bears in both games that they play against them and go 4-0, I like this team to win 10 games. They can't afford to lose the game to either of those teams. That's their ticket into the wild card. I don't think they win the division. But that's their ticket to getting into the wild card. I like Minnesota making the wild card this year. I think Minnesota, Kansas City, and Seattle are teams that I don't want to say bounce back because I like the way Minnesota should be 2-1. Let's be real. They should have beat Arizona. They just missed a field goal. They recovered and they beat Seattle. That is a big win. You want to talk about mental strength? Try going 0-2, losing the second game on a last-second field goal. That was a chip shot. Going and playing Seattle and winning that game.
It's an impressive win.
It's a tough team. It's a very impressive win. So those are my 3 teams. Jeff, disagree?
The only thing I would say with the Vikings is, wow, their schedule coming up. Let me read you off their next 4 or 5 games. Besides the Lions, they play the Browns, the Panthers, the Cowboys, the Ravens, and the Chargers. That's their next 4 or 5 games. So it'll be interesting. The Vikings will show us in the next 4 or 5 games what they're made of because, like you said, if they can figure it out defensively, they've been able to get after quarterback, but Kirk Cousins is having a great year. So the fact that the Vikings don't have a winning record, at least right now, going into the division. I had them at 9, maybe 10 wins. It's looking to like they'll maybe be in the course of 7 wins. But I hope so. I like the Viking squad. I like it a lot.
I think they're a 9-10 win football team. I really do. The defense is very good. It's much better than last year. DeAndre Hunter is back. They have a good secondary. I really like Minnesota. I got to say, maybe I'm a little biased on Kansas City. I think they'll recover, but again, I don't think they're a Super Bowl team this year. I don't. Granted, I am biased. I have the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl coming out of the AFC, but still, let's be fair, it's very difficult to get to a Super Bowl, let alone back-to-back, let alone back-to-back-to-back. We're really playing the odds here, guys. Yeah. Dan Campbell played the odds. We're really playing the odds here, too. Kansas City to make 3 straight Super Bowls, I don't see it happening. I think the Bills take over, or I can't believe I'm saying this, it could be lightning in a bottle. Either the Ravens or maybe even the Chargers making a push. Don't forget about the Browns and their offensive line. That translates come playoff time. Cleveland may be in a Super Bowl this year. I don't think it's the Chiefs here.
They were a drive away last year to versing the Buffalo Bills.
There you go.
They lost to the Chiefs, but
there you go.
Yeah, there are a lot of interesting teams this year. It's tough for a team to go back to back to back, obviously. But Kansas City, man, it's just come postseason. It's hard for me to count them out. It's very, very hard.
All right. Well, I honestly hope you guys are right about the Browns. I mean, what they go 0-16 in 2017, right? I mean, that's a pretty fast turnaround if they end up in the Super Bowl, and that would be just riveting football. I would.
Yeah,
love
and they
that.
went through 3 coaches during that time span.
Jeez.
But God forbid you make tough decisions when you actually feel like you're going in the right direction with your roster.
Are you done?
Yeah.
All right, you guys, coming up next, we're going to talk about which Big Ten coach is impressing us the most so far this season. Stick around for that. And since we're talking football, I want to tell you where you should hang out during the Lions game and after, because the party can't stop after the pregame. Join Woodward Sports and Jim Beam at the Brass Rail downtown, starting live at the 2-minute warning of every Lions game. You guys know the drill by now. Stick and Anson will be there covering all the highlights and the fan reactions. I mean, they killed it last week. Let us not forget. Every Lions game and away game, come watch with the after party in the VIP area for Woodward Sports fans, where they have pizza and more. We are the official post game for Detroit football. It's at Brass Rail. All right. Now Adam has to tell you about his favorite people over at BetQL.
All right, BetQL, guys, is the place to get an advantage over your sportsbook. I absolutely love this application. I recommend you download it. It's available in the Google Play and Apple Store. Use code WSN for 25% off all of their subscription offerings using the link, of course, try.betql.co/WSN. Again, they run all of their computer model scans, over 350,000 a year, to give you the best odds, the best bets placed. They also tell you where the money's being placed in Vegas. You can kind of see what the public's doing and what the experts are doing. I love all the information available to me. As an avid sports bettor, I can't get enough of it. I do recommend you try it. Again, use code WSN when you sign up to get 25% off any subscription of your choosing.
Okay, you thirsty little spin goblins. I want you to pedal into the next dimension. Spin it! Spin! Spin! Uh-oh! Carmen's falling behind. Let's give her the hiss of shame. Spin! Spin! Spin till you bleed!
Don't ride the bike of shame. Come to Planet Fitness and find your own lane with tons of equipment, free fitness training, and no hissing. Join today for just $10 a month.
Back, everyone. You're tuning into the Morning Woodward Show right here on the Woodward Sports Network. Like I said, we've got to talk about these Big Ten coaches and who is impressing us the most. Obviously, you guys know, I wish I could say Ryan Day right now. He came into the season topping, I'm sure, this Big Ten coach rankings with a 23-2 record. His only 2 losses were against Clemson in the college football semifinals and to Alabama in the national championship. I mean, you can't be mad at the guy. Not to mention, he also has brought in these loaded recruiting classes. But now, you know, they've already taken an L this season. I'm not impressed with Ryan Day, and it pains me to say that. I've been more impressed with Mel Tucker, but it's not about me. I want to hear from these guys. Jeff, who are you impressed with this season?
Well, the obvious answer would be Mel Tucker, because what he's been able to do. But I'm going to make it interesting. I'm going to say Greg Schiano, because the Rutgers bringing him back was the best decision they've ever made. Obviously, they won bowl games with Greg Schiano, but the 2 seasons he's been back, year 1 during COVID, yes, the 3-6 year. It's a little bit of anomaly. It's COVID coming into this year, 3-1. And you saw their game against Michigan. They play hard football, and I cannot wait to see them versus Michigan State. Greg Schiano has those guys playing hard for him and really transforming the brand of Rutgers since he was there. I mean, since he's been gone, they pretty much, I've heard them be called a high school team. Every time there's a team playing against Rutgers, it's pretty much guarantee him a win. Rutgers is a very bad program, but no, Greg Schiano's changing it around. I don't know if they're going to make big noise in the Big Ten, but in terms of who I'm impressed with, it's the Rutgers, man. They've been playing hard, but that would be my answer. But the easy one would be Mel Tucker, obviously.
Yeah, Mel Tucker's the easy answer, but I got to go with Scott Frost, Nebraska head coach.
Yeah.
I got to say, Nebraska is a stubborn team. look, they may not have the prettiest record, but I've got to say, to play Oklahoma, to play Michigan State the way they played them, it's impressive. Look, it may not get highlighted in the newspapers. It may not be headlines across national media. But the guy can coach. Whether or not he can build a successful program, we'll have to wait and see. He needs time. But if you're in Nebraska higher up, or you're just a fan in general, you've got to be happy. To not get blown out by Oklahoma was impressive enough. To follow up and barely lose to Michigan State, hold a late fourth quarter lead, that is impressive. Nebraska will have an opportunity to do so 2 weeks from now against Michigan. I like what Scott Frost is doing. The easy answer is Mel Tucker, obviously. The guy was year 2 of a rebuild, and he has them sitting at 4-0, potentially probably 7-0 by the time they play Michigan.
Yep.
My goodness, you want to talk about a turnaround? Maybe unbelievable.
Yeah, the
honestly.
job he's done in the transfer portal, you got to give him that.
It's hard not to pick Mel Tucker.
It's
but
crazy.
I would prefer to acknowledge not the obvious ones, because Mel Tucker is the answer. It is the right answer. Yeah. But Jim Harbaugh, coming off of 2-4, already has 4 wins this year, 4-0. They look good the first 3. They grinded it out against Rutgers. Here they are away to Wisconsin. They win this game. It really takes the belief system up a notch for the Michigan program, at least. They haven't won in Wisconsin in a very long time. So there are a lot of coaches doing well. You look at Ryan Day. I could care less. I really could. I mean,
that's how I feel
Ryan Day has a lot to prove, in my opinion. He took over an Urban Meyer dominating program. He took over Dwayne Haskins and Justin Fields. Those are 2 NFL quarterbacks right now. Granted, one's a backup and the other is a rookie, but the point is, those are very good quarterbacks. Yep. CJ Stroud, you're not sure of right now. It's very inconsistent play. But James Franklin, I think, is also an honorable mention at Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing a very good job. He's got them, 7th in AP polls right now?
Yep.
Penn State looks very good. They look how they were a few years ago. So the Big Ten is on the up. I'm really happy for the Big Ten overall as a conference. I think they needed this type of start. It would have been ideal if Ohio State was undefeated just from a brand standpoint for the Big Ten. But you know what? Iowa, Penn State, Michigan State, Michigan. Even Nebraska has shown we can play against the Big 12 teams that are going to the SEC. Look at us. We barely lost to them. The Big Ten is actually having a very good year. They look really good. I think that's very important, especially as the SEC continues to develop and really get stronger and add powerhouse brands. You're going to need Michigan to be relevant. All the trolls, whether you're an Ohio State fan, you're a Michigan fan, it doesn't matter. You need the other teams to be good because you don't want it to affect your ability to get into the college football playoff. So I like where the Big Ten is going this year. It's been a very good year. I don't see any issues with a majority of these teams. Iowa, coming off, maybe you want to call it a scare early on, but regardless, good things happening in the Big Ten. Jeff, your thoughts overall, big picture for the Big Ten?
Yeah, big picture, there is teams you could look at and say, especially coaching situations, like we mentioned Greg Schiano, you talk about Nebraska, you talk about Mel Tucker. There is a handful of teams in this Big Ten that you could see winning it. Ohio State isn't the big dog. Justin Fields is not here. C.J. Stroud has been struggling. Now they have other quarterbacks playing. I think C.J. Stroud was out last game. But, in terms of the overall look into this Big Ten, I mean, if I had to talk about teams that I could see contending, it's really Penn State, Ohio State, and both Michigan teams, because as much as I love Greg Schiano and the job he's done, I don't realistically see the Rutgers contending for the Big Ten. They're just talent voided, but they are playing hard football. Same with Michigan State. I mean, they might lack talent in certain areas, but they have enough talent to produce. Kenneth Walker, regardless of being a transfer, he's put up numbers. Peyton Thorne looks like like Connor Cook or Kirk Cousins. Call it what you want. He looks great being a sophomore, and he doesn't look rattled at all. So there is a couple teams, but we'll see what Michigan does with Cade McNamara. That's the big thing, because I don't know if I trust Cade McNamara in big games yet. I really don't, and that's what will determine how far Michigan will go in terms of actually having a chance to win this Big Ten. But I like Penn State, and I really like Michigan State. Ohio State's right behind them, but we'll see. There's probably about 4 teams I could see, battling until the very end.
I'm really happy you brought up Greg Schiano and Rutgers.
Yeah,
Greg Schiano is whether they're not Big Ten contenders or not, he's doing something there. There's something. The offense is something. The scheme he's playing, the defense is something. Now, again, whether or not they win 8-9 games, probably not.
Right.
But it's Rutgers, and for him right now, he's got them believing. To lose that game, you play like Brandon Brown was on earlier. Michigan Digest writer and publisher for Sports Illustrated was on, and he made a very good point. That Michigan game goes on another 3, 4, 5 minutes. Rutgers probably win it, and if it goes to overtime, it's likely Rutgers winning that football game. Michigan had no offense going. So we'll see how the season plays out. I think J.J. McCarthy, the conversation needs to be happening more than it is. I will push for it for the remainder of the year. But I don't believe Jim Harbaugh is willing to make that move until he loses a game, which in my opinion is the wrong thing to do. Again, playing it safe. I think you got to be bold, and you've got to go for it. And I promise you, no one's going to be criticizing you if you put in a J.J. McCarthy and you lose the same amount of games that you likely would have lost with Cade McNamara. What they'll be saying is, you know what? He saw something in the kid. He got him out there. They looked good. They were more dynamic. They barely lost this game. They lost that. Whatever it may be, whatever the narrative turns out to be, it would be easier to have a conversation about it than saying, well, what if we just played J.J. McCarthy earlier on in the season? What if we gave him the second half in each of the first 3 games? Tough to say now. Wisconsin up this week. Good luck, Michigan.
Yeah, you're not going to throw him in against Michigan State or Ohio State. So the time to start him is now against these teams he has a chance against. So we'll see how they handle it. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm seeing all your guys' comments in the chat about Ohio State. Everyone's referring to Pope. I don't know if you guys saw that, but he left the game, tweeted F Ohio State. Yeah, it's not a good look, I'm aware, but he's I think a senior linebacker, and he was just upset that he didn't play, so he quit the team. Ohio State's being nice enough to keep him on scholarship for this season, so not a good look, but what can you do? All right, coming up next, we have Fish's Facts, of course. So make sure you're sticking around for that. But before we go, we got to hear about our friends over at Levels.
All right, guys, starting right now, you can get 10% off your order with Levels just by mentioning Woodward Sports. Whether you in-store or on the app, make sure to mention Woodward Sports to get your 10% off. Everything from T Grizzlies gas to D-Max Special Strain and edibles, all on sale now. Again, enjoy Levels. Download their app today on Google Play Store and the iOS Apple Store. Have a ball, guys. Save some money. Again, Levels, the premier cannabis dispensary.
Tony is a third-generation logger that has a simple, practical approach to life and work. That's why his Coast DX342 knife is perfect for him. The stainless steel blade is rust-resistant and made for all-weather use. And the double roll-lock safety ensures that it will never inadvertently close when he doesn't want it to. That's why Coast is trusted tough.
Is it time?
Yeah, it is.
Fish!
Go fish.
Fish Facts.
It's fish!
Alright. Today is Wednesday. We're midway through the week already. It feels like yesterday it was Monday, which was on the weekend, which was on Friday of last week. Now it's Wednesday. We had a game last night that you guys should have been watching. I don't know why you weren't. It's football. I don't know why you guys weren't watching football. You guys love football. You guys are always like, oh my god. They changed their name from the Elks to the Eskimos from last year. So this is a very good play from the Elks. They were down 17-0 at this point, as you can see.
Whoa! Yeah. Hey.
That's not football.
It is football.
I mean,
Adam.
in the NFL, that's picked off, but it still is.
That's Pee-wee football.
In the NFL, this pass is picked off, right? Play that clip one more time.
In the NFL, the quarterback is murdered 2 seconds before that throw ever goes off.
Look at this. Look at this. This is picked off in the NFL. Like he steps
Where's
up.
the offensive lineman running? No, replay that. Forget the throw. What is the offensive lineman doing? Look at him. What are you doing?
The guy running out the side.
66. What in God's name are you doing? I need to see this one more time. Am I seeing? Am I blind?
No, 66. Look at. He thought he was running with it. I thought he was scrambling.
That was a great pass and a great throw and a great catch and a great score.
Hey, Fish, there is guys that come from the CFL that can play in the NFL.
Thank
so I'm
you.
not saying they're bad, but some plays, little questionable.
Okay, you see that same thing in the NFL on Sunday. There's just 99 games to compete, so it kind of washes through the social media selection of them. By the way, the red team won 34-24. If you guys don't care, you should care though. Speaking of caring, we go to the facts. And the Seattle Mariners, the owners of the longest active playoff drought in MLB, NFL, NBA, and NHL history, they're now just a half game out of the wild card race.
My God.
This is the closest they've been to a playoff spot with 5 games or fewer games left in the season since they last made the playoffs in 2001.
So Seattle fans are holding on to the edge of their seats right now, Fish, hoping to break in and hopefully get in that wild card spot. 5 games left?
It's been 20 years, and they're hoping and praying for them to go to the playoffs.
My Lord. Good luck to those fans, man. I can relate to those fans. You want to see playoffs, at least make it into the playoffs. You can't hate on fans. I want that, man. It's frustrating.
Speaking of fans and greatness and then misery and then greatness, the Cardinals have been going on a roller coaster. Is Six Flags near? Six Flags? Is it near? No.
Is
okay.
it here? Is it near Arizona?
The Cardinals, you gotta think of the joke. The Cardinals' playoff odds were 2.8% at September 7th. They're now the second team since the playoff odds began in 24. Playoff odds began to make the playoffs after having single-digit odds at any point in September, along with the Brewers in 2019, who were 5.6% on the 5th of September. So the Cardinals were 2% to make the playoffs, and now it looks like they're going to make the playoffs, and that's...
Hey, Seattle's got to take notes.
They do. That's hard to do.
Yeah, I know. It is extremely hard to do.
They play anywhere from 25 to 30 games in a month, where football plays half that in a season. But still impressive to see them make a run. The Tigers made a similar run. They ended up getting a winning season, which is very good for the Tigers. So everyone was like, fire the manager, fire the GM, fire everyone. And now Adam's smiling because the Tigers actually look somewhat decent.
Yeah, with a 2% chance, man. Give the Cardinals credit.
Speaking of somewhat decent, the good old Yankees, Maz's town and city and state, John Carlos Stanton. He has 13 RBIs in the last 4 games, the most of any 4-game span in his career. The last Yankees player with 13 RBIs in a 4-game span was Alfonso Soriano in 2013. Wow.
That happens.
Long time ago. I remember that guy.
Fish, do we have any sumo highlights?
We do not have any sumo highlights.
That's unfortunate.
Did you want to see sumo?
I'm looking for it, and so is Mike in the chat.
Okay. Well, there was sumo this past weekend, which is...
Can we have sumo highlights tomorrow?
Sure.
All right, cool.
I can whip up some sumo from over the weekend, which was pretty good.
I love it.
Thank you, buddy.
We have birthdays today. We have a special birthday today. Someone who may have done something on Sunday. But we're going to start with the guy you talked about earlier, Kevin Durant. It is his birthday today.
KD.
How old is KD now?
1988.
So 33?
Happy birthday to Kevin
34?
Durant.
He's early 30s. But
he has a few years left. I mean, he'll be an MVP player for a long time. Speaking of MVP player, we start off with a birthday that... Do you guys remember when Ohio State last won the national championship? Well, this guy was quarterback. Cardell Jones. It is his birthday today. I figured
Don't you dare clap. You'll lose your job right now.
Happy birthday, Cardell. Love you, baby.
Cardell Jones. Jamarcus Russell II.
One of the best Twitter accounts out there, though.
Adam's so right.
And now this is the birthday you've all been waiting for. This is the Detroit legend. A guy that, by the way, did something on Sunday. A guy that did not mention the team on Sunday. He went to the Hall of Fame. Calvin Johnson. It is his birthday. 349th person to be in the Hall of Fame. Happy birthday to Calvin Johnson. This would be a great present if Sheila Ford were to wish him a happy birthday and then oops about the money for $1.6 million or whatever it is. So
yeah,
she's not going to do it, but she should.
Listen, number one, happy birthday, Calvin Johnson. He's my favorite football player of all time. So happy birthday to 81.
She basically had 2 options. It was either Sunday or Wednesday. and she's probably going to miss the ball on both.
Listen,
we
Calvin,
can't help them there.
Calvin, if I was a millionaire, I'd cut you a check. All right. If I was a billionaire, I'd cut you a check. That's all I'm going to say.
And you should. Adam, you'd give him the money, right? For the zero work?
No, I wouldn't have taken it from him in the first place.
Or that.
If I'm an owner of a franchise, the player gives everything, his body, everything for me. I know he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Hey, give me the 1.6 back because we need it. $1 billion company. Unbelievable. Whatever.
Well, they probably do
Happy
need
birthday,
it. They're
Calvin,
just
though.
not
One of the
spending
best
it in good
receivers
areas.
Wow, I think that's like the first happy birthday Adam's actually given out.
Well, it's
Fishy.
Megatron. You can't not wish him happy
Exactly.
birthday. Yeah, I just don't wish Cardell Jones happy birthday. That is what you call a fat quarterback. Just like Jamarcus Russell was.
He definitely was
fat, out of shape, and couldn't do
fat.
anything on what?
Even on the football field, he was fat and out
Yeah.
of shape. You clearly saw. He did win, though. What, he won?
All
What
right,
am I
you know
supposed
what?
to say? Did you not see the game where he was
Jeff, help
clearly
me.
fat?
Back to Calvin
and
Johnson.
he was running very slow. He
Kennedy
still won them
didn't
the
notice
game.
because when Zeke was playing on that team, he was the one with his jersey
Oh,
wrapped
I
all the
did
way
love
up.
the crop top.
Imagine Cardell Jones wrapping up his jersey. Then maybe you would have noticed he was out of shape. It would have been like Santa Claus. Get out of here.
You're the worst.
I think Adam's the best. Speaking of best, those are the facts. We'll be back for greatness already Thursday, everybody. So do whatever you Thursday Night Football. The NFL, actually, there probably is college games as well if you do not like the, who is it, Bengals Jaguars this week?
Yep.
So yeah,
Let's
if you
go
don't like
Jags.
them,
Can't wait.
if you don't like them, go to the college game, which last week was a good college game between Appalachian State and Marshall. So maybe we'll get another good Thursday game. Anyway, those are the facts. I'm done talking.
All right, thanks, Fish. You're the best. Adam, meh. But we were talking about someone that put his body on the line for the Lions, and so did our guy Matthew Stafford. Paul Charles wants to know, what do you guys think on how Stafford is doing? I think the Lions are missing Stafford on this Lions team. What do you think?
They're not missing Stafford because they're in a rebuild.
Yeah.
The Lions aren't missing Stafford. They got 2 first-round picks and a bridge quarterback to help them rebuild. They're fine. The Lions will be fine. The problem is, if Matthew Stafford continues to play the way he is playing, and let's be real, they are NFC contenders. So if he gets to a championship game or even a Super Bowl, you're going to have to swallow a huge pill and really, really digest that, you know what, this guy was here for 12 years, and we just could never surround him with not only the talent, because he's had talent prior, but what is talent on the field without proper head coaching? I brought this up yesterday. Find me the head coach. Find me the GM. Find me that duo, that tandem that brought the quarterback, the roster, everything together. You've never had that. Detroit's never had that. The closest they've had was Wayne Fontes. But it was in a time in the NFL where if you had the running back, you were competitive. If you had Eric Dickerson, if you had Barry Sanders, if you had Terrell Davis. Different times now. Lions never adapted. It's not about if they give a run game to Stafford. It's not just about that. That's so simple-minded to think. He's never had a head coach that is beyond knowledge of the game. You know, Jim Caldwell, Jim Schwartz, Matt Patricia. Those are his head coaches. Rod Marinelli wasn't Matthew Stafford's head coach, but these are the coaching history you've had. That's why you weren't able to build around Stafford. And again, it's still early in the year. He's got to win the division. He needs to win a playoff game. If he doesn't do both of those things, well, you know what? It's kind of hard to say, I told you so. It really is. But so far, he's looking great, man. That's what happens when you're in a better situation. He got a divorce, and he found somebody that actually makes him happy and that he can actually respect.
I'll cry.
If you don't respect your partner, how are you supposed to have a good relationship? Stafford never respected half of the things. Not half. I'm being generous on that. 90% of the things the Lions did. But he was a very good guy. He's your definition of a franchise quarterback, and you can build around him. The Lions failed to do so, and when they did have pieces around him, head coaching wasn't ideal. Sorry, head coaches kind of matter. Go find me a team that's winning without a good head coach. I'll wait.
That's it?
Go see how the Browns did with Freddie Kitchens. Oh, wait. Kevin Stefanski, year 1 head coach of the year. Unbelievable. Stafford, the Lions shouldn't be missing Stafford. Fans shouldn't be. They should, if you want to root for him, go for it. But it doesn't matter. You got what you wanted. You got 2 first-round picks in your bridge. Move on.
Mm-hmm.
Take us away, Kennedy.
All right, you guys. Talking about Stafford makes me feel sad. I don't care. I'm one of those. But I'll tell you something that doesn't make me feel sad, and that is Woodward Sports Friday Night Clash. Every Friday, we broadcast one of the best games in Metro Detroit on Woodward Sports Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. This week's matchup is between Joey and Stick's rival schools, Brother Rice and Orchard Lake St. Mary's. So make sure you check that out at 9 p.m. And yeah. Shout out to Planet Fitness and the Prep for helping us put that on. All right. We will see you guys tomorrow. We won't be in studio. We will be at Hall Financial. So make sure you check it out so we can show you their awesome new office space. All right. See you tomorrow.